Hey everyone, welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tim Chelsvik.
I'm the other one, Matt Drury, and we dropped Mark Drury. We just, we thought
we had to make some cuts.
He didn't make it.
Sorry, Mark.
He doesn't have the knowledge that we need and share on this show, frankly, so we felt like we just get rid of the fat.
I think you and I may both be gone by this time next week.
They ain't getting rid of me, but I can't speak for you.
Right. Who, that Tim guy? Actually, your grandma would be a great person to have back in here.
Yeah.
Holy cow, what an awesome show that was.
Yeah, Grandma, she didn't hold back.
She didn't mince any words.
Do. Yeah.
Well, and you never quite knew what she was gonna say because.
Well, that's just with all older people, right? Like, that's the beauty of it. They don't care.
I still remember, so Christmas Day, we went to my family, like my grandpa's house, and we did Christmas with that side of the family. And I was in high school, and I had like the biggest zit on my nose. And as a high schooler, you know everything about
self-conscious
you. Yeah,
about it.
Yeah, exactly. And the first thing my grandpa said was, "Oh, hey, Rudolph, how you doing?" I was like, "You got to be kidding me."
Yeah, they don't hold back. So she was awesome, and that story about Mark and him grabbing her arm and saying, "You got to be quiet." I thought that's a good one.
Yeah. It's like, good luck with that.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's been one of those winters where it keeps snowing everywhere, especially kind of in the Midwest, the North. And, this should be shed season right now. We're kind of to the point where we always try to hold off until early to mid-March when we got, like, literally this is the time that we would really start getting hot and heavy on it. Mm-hmm. But there's snow on the ground for a lot of people. And so
makes it really hard.
It does make it really tough. So, we got a guest today that I think can probably shed a little bit of light, pun intended, on the process of when deer actually do shed and why, and maybe even get into the fact of what kind of nutrients, minerals, whatever that they would need to try to help the new antler growth that basically starts, I think, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong once he gets on here, but it starts as soon as they drop the old ones, I think. So
we'll find out.
Yeah, maybe
from a real scientician.
I might be really talking out of the wrong end here, but
we'll find out soon enough. People let us know if you're wrong.
So let's get to it.
Let's do it. So we've got Tim Neuman, wildlife biologist from Analogics, joining us via Skype. Hello, Tim. Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's really great to have an actual scientist on. So maybe, Tim, talk about your education and your training and your role there.
First, I got to know, was I right or was I wrong on
antler growth?
On antler growth. Does it begin as soon as they drop the other one?
Literally, it doesn't start like popping out of their head as soon as they shed, but the process begins that they're starting to rob some nutrients from their skeletal system that are going to be earmarked for antler growth.
That's pretty much what you were going to say.
I said it just that way. I don't know if the editors may have cut that out, but that's how I said it, guys.
Let's go with it.
But I mean, I had some deer that shed in late December this year, or it'd be last year now, but they're not going to be popping velvet in February. They're still going to be waiting until the later in the winter to actually grow in the velvet antlers.
Well, I know we're wanting to kind of hear the credentials here, but so we had a deer, the deer that I killed, the one called Gnarly from Dad's farm. It shed super late. It was like the last set that they found last year. Mm-hmm. But he,
And what was super late? Was that?
I think April? It was late March, early April when they found it. And they found the match sets right near where Dad stays, actually. And so anyways, they it's crazy the amount of growth that deer had in that short period of time, because he grew like 30 inches. So, I wondered, my question is, does that necessarily matter when they drop? Because, I kind of think most people would assume if they drop early, it's just more time to kind of build up towards a bigger rack.
Yeah, I think you're wrong.
Obviously.
Yeah, not necessarily, because they can catch up and grow a full set of antlers in a shorter period of time. So there's actually been studies where they manipulated the light levels that deer in a pen were getting. So they would like fake them into thinking that the year was only 180 days long, or the year was 800 days long. So they could grow two sets of complete antlers in 1 year.
Whoa.
Just by manipulating the light.
Well, and that's something people talk about the weather and the temperature a lot as it relates to when deer drop their antlers, but really it's about photo period, right?
Right.
Well, that's
Yep.
good. Yeah. We just figured that one out.
I don't think we did.
So Tim, how did you arrive at the place you are now with all this whitetail wisdom?
So I started when I was in, my young years. I would feed deer in the backyard behind my parents' house, and that really grew my love of the whitetail. That was even before I could legally hunt, because in Minnesota we had to be 12 in order to hunt. So I was feeding deer in my backyard when I was like 6 to 12, and just got an appreciation for deer and their behaviors, and that led me to talking to the counselor in high school and wanted to get a degree in wildlife. So I went to the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point, which is the largest undergraduate school in the nation as far as wildlife program.
Okay.
So they have what's called the Wildlife Society, and they bring 150 kids every Tuesday night to their Wildlife Society meetings, and it's just the place to be if you want to start off with a good wildlife career.
Sounds like a party crew, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Get pretty wild at those meetings.
It was pretty fun, yeah. But that got my first exposure to the scientific part of whitetails, and started trapping some deer up there. We had some clover traps, and just getting hands on some wild deer, and that experience led to the graduate program that I got into at Auburn University. That was an amazing project that I was tasked to tranquilize deer inside a research facility that was 450 acres. So basically I was catch and release hunting for 2.5 years of my life.
So you're shooting a rifle that shot sedative darts?
Yes.
Fun. What's the range on one of those?
About 20 yards.
Ooh.
20 yards?
So you're bow hunting, basically.
It's a 22 blank that fires the projectile.
Okay.
Yep. And they do have some CO2 now that have considerably better range, but at the time, with the way budgets were, that's all we could afford was the 22 blank ones.
Sure. So that just kind of helped to kindle that passion you were developing for understanding.
Yeah. So that experience with the whitetail there at Auburn gained me knowledge in not only the whitetail, but the nutrition that is needed to grow a whitetail. And that led to meeting the folks at Analogics that really were just getting off the ground and needed a biologist to help get their story across.
And here you are.
Absolutely.
So you work with several other biologists there as well, don't you, at Analogics?
I'm really the only true wildlife biologist. We have microbiologists, and then we have veterinarians. And the veterinarians are the ones with the nutrition backgrounds.
Yeah.
So they understand a lot about biology, but really they're veterinarians.
Because that was one of the interesting things when we first met with Mark Freeze and his dad and that whole group. I think Reed was there that first meeting. It was interesting to see. We had never seen it kind of put the way that those guys did to us, where it was laid out from they had like a map of the country, and it was like showing certain like mineral deficiencies in certain areas, and basically it's the items that a deer may need to kind of be healthy. That is the approach they took to it. Kind of reminded me of like having supplements or something for a human. I don't know if is that kind of a good way to put it, Tim?
Absolutely. Every soil type across the U.S. has a little bit different mineral profile, and you can look in the individual minerals and see where you can see where the Mississippi River is, and you can see where the Ohio River Valley is, just because of the nutrients that are in that soil. But when you start stacking them up collectively, you can see why Boone and Crockett deer come from where they do. It's because they have so much resources to grow big antlers.
Well, one of our DeerCasters was wondering how he can best support the nutrition of his herd, and wondering just how do you figure out what minerals and nutrients you need. So why don't we kick off our question of the day?
Yeah, the question of the day is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here.
Good afternoon. My name is Lonnie. My question is, I have some deer that I've been trying to feed, and I bought some of that juice stuff from Walmart. And I noticed on some of my game cameras that a nice 8-point buck started coming up to it and searching for, like, I guess the minerals and stuff that was in the juice, because I put out a deer cane block. I just recently went and bought some of that Big and J and stuff like that. I'm gonna try it, put it on the cameras. How do you know when the deer are missing some minerals and stuff, as far as close to being core land? Because I hunt here in Tennessee, and what would be the best solution? Because I was reading also, you don't want to start feeding deer because then they get dependent on it, and corn is actually not a good, I guess, for their digestive system. So what would be the best thing to feed them to build them up, build the antlers, and also make the herd a lot better?
Great. Yeah, Tim, first reaction, what do you think?
I thought that I put my phone on silent, but apparently I'm trying to get a call right now, so hang on.
That's why we're not on Facebook Live.
You would have ruined it.
All right.
Could have made
So
it more
that's a very good question. And the first thing off is I'm going to hit how do you know what they're missing? So we have at Analogics there's a test kit that basically is a liver analysis of the micro mineral profile of your deer. So you can do things like soil samples to figure out what your food plants are missing, but you can do this test that I'm referring to figure out what literally your deer are missing. And it's going to give you a full report of not only calcium and phosphorus, which a lot of guys talk about being important for antler growth, because if you ground up antlers, those are the number 1 and 2 ingredients, but it's also going to give you 13 other minerals that are important to not only antler growth but immune system function and basic body health. So
Tim,
it'll be things like selenium and copper, manganese, zinc,
Yeah. So how do you suggest someone approach a deer in order to sample some of their liver?
So they got to have them dead on the ground.
Tim Neuman, Tim Chelsvik here thinks he's a funny guy.
I was trying to be funny.
It's just you gotta work with this guy every day.
The deer has to be dead first. Tim, you're so kind about that. That was really sweet of you for not being like,
this is a post-mortem analysis here.
Let's be clear. You have to be able to shoot a deer first.
You get downwind.
You better do it during the season so you don't get in trouble.
Getting real close.
All right. Now, pick up from there.
All right. So you're gutting the deer, and instead of leaving that liver to the crows and the coyotes, you just cut out about a fist-sized portion and put that in a plastic bag and put it in your freezer with the rest of the meat. And then you order this mineral analysis package, and we send you a insulated shipper box that we then will have a return postage paid, so you can just send it next day air UPS to us, and we'll analyze the micro mineral profile of that animal.
Pretty slick, actually.
Yeah. What's the turnaround time on that test?
We've been getting them back within 2 weeks.
Dang.
Wow, that's pretty quick. Is there a typical cost?
I think it's up right now. It's at $130.
Okay.
But it's one of those things that I don't know if you can get anywhere else. So you kind of get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Well, and so say somebody does this, they go through the process, they send it in, they get the results back. What do they do from there? What can you actually do to change some of that? Whatever the properties that this test is saying it kind of is in your dirt, and then that the nutrients that your deer is getting. How can you even go about changing something like that? It seems pretty monumental.
So you can supply those minerals in products directly to their nutritional program. So say if they're missing copper, you can add mineral dirt 180 to your nutrition program, and it's going to give them the amount of copper that they would need to be healthy.
So you guys will make that recommendation.
This is part of a continuing process. So you can start at year 1, and then the more years that you submit samples, you can start to see the progress that you're making with your program. And obviously you can increase certain minerals by fertilizing your food plots correctively and filling the void that some of those plants are not getting. And you can do that at a landscape scale. I know guys that are shooting 200-inch deer in Mississippi that are fertilizing their native vegetation with helicopters, because that's something that can improve the plants on that landscape more than just a small food plot scale. And you see the results of it with the amount of antlers that they're growing.
I'd like to know their names and telephone numbers if you can do that for me.
That's a guy by the name of Austin Ashley, and he's actually one of our pro staff. The guy has an amazing ability to grow a big deer on bad soil. It's insane.
Well, so will you guys make those recommendations if someone sends in a liver sample and you can see what the deficiencies are? Will you do some interpretation, analysis, and recommendations for them as part of that process?
Yes. Part of that package includes a consultation by myself, just laying down, here's what we saw.
That's
here's
awesome.
What, this is what you're missing, and here's the program I think you need to be on.
That's really the key there, because you can know it, but if you don't know how to institute a program to rectify it, it's just knowledge. It's not going to result in anything.
I feel like that every time I look at a soil sample.
Okay.
I got it. Now what?
Okay, so that's the kind of liver analysis side. Say, like, short of that, are there ways that you can tell by a deer's anatomy or behavior or patterns on your property that can maybe give you clues as to what may be missing there?
You can certainly look at the health of an animal and use that as a proxy to whether or not they're getting enough minerals. Mm-hmm. So you could take things like body weight and have enough samples so that you can get an age body weight graph for your property, so that you can tell, well, this deer was 4.5 years old and the estimated live weight was 220 pounds, or you can just do it off of dressed weight, but you can use weight to help you know if that deer was healthy at the time that it was harvested. And you can also look at things like the shine on their coat. In certain sunny pictures, you can tell when a deer has that shine. Like, I know that's a healthy deer when I see that certain shine on their coat. But there's also another process that you can do. It's called a kidney fat index. And it's basically weighing the amount of fat relative to the size of the kidney.
Oh.
And it's a little bit more of a technical process, but if any state biologist can help you with that process. And basically you just cut the fat right by where the kidney is, and you get a ratio of kidney to fat. And it's a way of knowing the health of an animal.
So another part of his comment or question was, do deer get dependent if he was going to start feeding them? He had heard that if you feed them corn, that's not good for them, or they could get dependent on it, or whatever. And I've actually heard that before as well. Is that kind of a misnomer, or is that, what are your thoughts there?
Well, there's a right way and a wrong way to feed deer. And a lot of the state agency biologists only talk about the wrong way and only say, well, people are just going to feed corn and feeding corn is bad. Well, if you just fed corn to a herd of starving deer, yes, that would be bad for them. But if you incorporate a quality supplement feed early enough into the year that they're not dependent on that feed and it's just part of their natural forage throughout the year, then it's not going to negatively affect them. It'll actually improve them drastically. So if done wrong, it can be detrimental, but if done right, it can have greatly positive effects.
It seems like people are getting a little more sophisticated with just the general deer hunting population is getting a little more sophisticated with our understanding of gut flora and like what is actually living inside those intestines, because we know, like, from humans, the kind of bacteria you have in your gut, actually they metabolize vitamins for us, or they synthesize vitamins for us. And the same thing with deer. And I know, like, people talk about, well, if you just dump a pile of corn in the wintertime for deer, their guts may not be even able to accept all the nutrients from that. So you're filling up their guts. They feel full. They don't have room for something that their guts are really accustomed to and dialed in for that particular time of year. I guess maybe talk a little bit about kind of the micro level of what's going on digestively that makes deer able to process certain forage at certain times a year?
So basically what's going on there is that microflora is what is digesting their food. And if they have not had access to corn throughout the whole winter and they've been eating woody browse, their microbes are programmed at that point of the year to digest more fiber. And when you lay on a diet that is high in carbohydrates and high in energy, the microbes just cannot adapt quickly enough. It usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks to change over that microbes that are inside their stomach. So if they cannot make that conversion fast enough, then like you said, there are cases where deer will die with a full stomach of corn. Mm-hmm. But what we do at Analogics is we formulate feeds with really powerful probiotics inside of the feed. So they're an inactive version of those microbes that once it gets inside the gut, then it's activated so that it can help digest the food immediately. And we're also mixing a diverse feed, so it's not a monoculture like a pile of corn would be. It's a whole mixture of things that have different levels of protein and might help different species of bacteria inside the gut. So it's a lot of thought has gone into this, and these nutritionists have PhDs in microbiology, and they understand what that flora needs inside the rumen.
Well, and I always thought it was interesting, like, Analogics is a kind of a subsidiary of another company, and that other company is like one of the world-renowned veterinarian scientist labs, right, or something to that effect. Like they're creating things for, say swine flu outbreak happens somewhere or whatever. They're on a much larger scale. So these guys,
research,
they really know what they're talking about. And the cool part was the owner and some of the other group in there, they had a passion for whitetails and a passion for hunting. So it kind of fed into this newer company, Analogics Farming. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And at the time, in 2012, they had the number 2 vaccine company in the nation, and they had a vaccine for EHD at that time. So these guys know a lot about whitetails.
Wow. Tim, if someone maybe just picked up a piece of dirt and they're not quite sure what the deer need on it just yet, is there an Analogics product that you would just kind of generally suggest to anyone? Just as a base, just go ahead and make sure your deer have this, and then kind of get a little more dialed in on what they need.
Yeah, so the first thing is figure out what time of the year that it's legal to put out anything at all. Yeah, some states you can only feed in off season, some states you can feed throughout the whole year. So figure out what time of year it is. If it's the winter, obviously the supplemental feed, we call it anti-supplement gold, is going to be the best option. That has minerals in it. It has probiotics. It has vitamins. It's got essential oils in it that actually have antiviral capabilities, so they help boost their immune system function. And if you're talking in the summertime, that's when minerals are really more important. So our product called Mineral Dirt 180 is a granular mineral. You just pour it on the ground and in about a 3-foot circle, and that is where you're going to have your best bang for the buck. Put about 1 mineral site per 80 acres is a good rough start.
And the part of that I love about it is it's a crazy attractant. All of it is. Like anytime you put it out, your trail cameras are going to light up. They really do.
Sweet.
So from that perspective, especially in the summertime, just getting inventory, during velvet, it's nice.
Bring them in and boost their nutrition health.
Yeah. I mean, I often wondered how much a person, say you have 150 acres and, you feel like your deer herd, it might be 20 to 30 deer, that you feel like you kind of hold in and around your property. Realistically, how much would you have to feed, your herd in the summer months or in the off season here in the winter to actually make any kind of effect? I often wondered that, a real effect for that herd.
Of the specific product that we include in all of our feed and minerals, it's called AntiShield TX4. I've been told that it takes about 5 to 6 ounces per animal per day to get the full benefit of it. So if they're eating feed, they should be able to get that, in 2 to 3 pounds of intake in a day, one animal. But if you're looking at the mineral block, they're going to have to sit and lick that mineral block a lot longer because the nutrients are stuck in a block. But the block was designed for longevity. So that the answer to that question depends on what they're eating.
Sure.
So they have to eat more of the minerals because they're licking it. They're not literally eating it like they would the supplemental feed.
Makes sense.
It's kind of it's one of the hallmarks for me when you ask someone who really knows what they're talking about. When you ask them a question, usually you get a more complex answer than what you expected.
Yeah.
Because there's so many factors that
2 bags.
Yeah, you're probably not going to get that. A lot of factors at play.
I just want to know the amount of bags, Tim. Come on.
Please, someone make the order for me.
No, I use a lot of the jack that you guys sell, just add corn, and because it's just convenient for me. I don't really have a shed or a garage or it's on a lease, so I got nowhere to house this stuff if I buy it by the pallet or whatever. So I just buy it by the bag, and then I go to the local co-op, get the corn, maybe it's 4 or 5 bags at a time or whatever, 10 bags, whatever. It depends on how many sites I got out in the summertime. And then I'll add that jack. You add a couple bags of jack. Is it one bag of jack per 2 bags of corn?
Yes, two parts of jack for every part of corn. So if you got a 50-pound bag of jack, then you'd add 100 pounds of corn.
Yeah, so it's pretty convenient because the bags of jack are small. I think those are the ones that I use are like, what are they, 20 pound, 10 pounds, something like that?
10 pound.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it's the biggest thing for me is I could house it in my garage.
Sure.
And it's not taking up a lot of space, and I don't have to worry about the big bags of corn. So in my situation, it's convenient is why I like it. And you're still getting everything that you're getting out of this anti-supplement gold, more or less. Isn't that correct? Yeah. So
yeah, you're basically making your own anti-supplement gold by adding corn to jack.
Yeah. So it's pretty convenient.
Right on.
I've been doing that for 4 or 5 years probably.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well, Tim, any other kind of parting wisdom for folks looking to make sure that they're supporting their deer the best way they can? Like the waiter coming around asking you how good your meal was when you get a mouthful of food.
Speak.
I like to tell people to use supplements and minerals as a knee brace and not as a crutch. So you don't want to wait until the deer absolutely need it to give it to them.
Yeah.
If you can get out ahead of the worst part of the winter and give them some feed before they really need it, it'll do so much better in the long run. And it's just one part of the management puzzle. Some of these state agencies want to get after us for trying to feed deer to get healthy, thinking we're not doing things like habitat management and food plots and that sort of thing. Well, that's not the case. The people that feed the deer the most are doing those habitat management stuff as well.
It's a comprehensive approach.
It's all part of the pie. It's just one part of the pie.
It's kind of like, Mossy Oak has that thing called the gamekeepers. Yeah. It's just one more kind of tool in your
aspect of it.
Tool chest. Yeah.
Yep.
So
cool.
Yep.
Well, hopefully we answered Lonnie's question. It was a great one.
I thought it was very good. Yeah.
Thanks, Lonnie, for calling that one in. If you want to, and by the way, Lonnie gets a Drury Outdoors ball cap for us using his question on the air. Hopefully we'll look at it. Maybe he'll send us a picture of him wearing his cap behind a big buck this coming fall.
Absolutely.
If you want to leave us a question, go to DruryOutdoors.com/podcast, and the lower right-hand side of the screen, there'll be a leave voicemail tab. Click on that, and it'll use the microphone on your computer or your mobile device and leave us a question. Try to keep it around 1 minute. Let us know who you are, where you're from, and if we answer it on the air, we'll give you a unworn new Drury Outdoors ball cap.
Don't let him kid you. He ships stuff
This
out of
hat's
his
got sweat stains on
his
it.
office, and he goes running with at lunch.
Smells like shampoo.
I was going to say something else.
Nice job.
Like something with S and
You're
H.
filtering yourself. You're growing up. Nice job.
Like always, you can check this podcast out over on YouTube or in DeerCast, the DoD TV section, and we're doing all kinds of cool stuff both in DeerCast original stuff or on the farm giveaway. We're giving away a farm if you're been hiding under a rock. We're giving away a farm this year. We're giving away tons of product from our sponsors each month. In fact, in February, we just gave away 2 pallets of Analogics thanks to the folks there at Analogics. So I think March is a really cool prize package from Biologics. Yeah. So you could get all the seed you need for this coming spring or fall. So by all means, check it out over in the DeerCast app. And we got a lot cooking here for this spring and turkey hunts, and we'll be sending out a bunch of new turkey hunts all spring long. So we got a lot coming up, and hopefully you guys are staying tuned.
Yeah, and if folks want to get a hold of Tim, we will we'll include contact information in the notes on the
you or him.
Real Tim.
Yeah.
Tim Neuman, the scientist Tim. A fun fact, maybe not so fun, I wanted to be a wildlife biologist when I was growing up. But after 2 straight years of bouncing between the biology lab and the chemistry lab during my undergrad, I was like, screw this.
Fun fact, I wanted to be Batman.
Really?
Yeah. That didn't work out either.
Wanted, so past tense, you gave up on it.
Well, it's coming. My dream's coming back because my son now wants to be Batman.
Kind of live vicariously.
Yeah. Heck
yes.
yeah, man.
So there's still a chance I could become a wildlife biologist. Batman, that ship may have sailed.
Well, it really just depends on how bad you want it, Tim.
So if you want to get a hold of Tim for any kind of consulting, or if you want some advice on products, we'll make sure that your email is hyperlinked up in our show notes.
All right.
Yes, and you can always visit the Analogics website, see if there's any frequently asked questions that are already up there answered. So
what is that? Analogic Outdoors?
It's analogics.com.
It's on the internet.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Tim, and wealth of knowledge as always. I know that he's our go-to source when we have questions, so it's kind of nice to be able to have a source like that where you know it's legitimate. They're telling you the right information, and there's science behind it.
Let's have him back next week.
It seems like I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but it seems like lately, especially on social media, we're seeing a lot of information that isn't very science-based around CWD.
It's a very
big rabbit hole, but
yeah, you put it very nicely.
But anyways, it's nice to kind of to be able to talk to guys that are in the know and involved in the research and know that there are real things happening out there, and you can combat a lot of them with, having a healthy deer herd.
That's right.
So,
That's
anyways,
right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate it. Tim, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, guys. I sure appreciate it.
See you, buddy.
It's not like I would have been shed hunting anyways, right, with all the snow.
Boom, boom.
All right. See you guys later.
See ya.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Bass Pro Shops in Cabela's.